I recently sat down with the candidates for state senator for the Norfolk, Bristol, and Middlesex District. The candidates in this contested primary race are Kris Aleksov, Katz, and Becca Rausch. Why are you running for state senate?
So the reason I'm running for the second time is related to the same reason I ran the first time. Through my job as an attorney, I'm constantly coming across individuals who the system is failing. And as a lawyer, when you can't help your client, it's a terrible, terrible feeling. And so you got to look for solutions.
The main reason that I'm running really has to do with my students and wanting to be a role model for my students and how to be civically engaged. And what happened was when I was teaching U.S. history after the election of 2016, it was really hard to teach these progressive movements that were slowly becoming undone. And it felt like I had taken for granted the work that activists had done in the 60s and 70s, and that I really wanted to be a part of the generation that helps to maintain and improve on that progress. And getting involved with a grassroots organization after the election, I found that my skill set was best suited toward running for office, and I went to school for several weeks to try and make sure that this was a good fit. And so a lot of factors combined to help me see that this was something that I really wanted to do. And trying to get out there and meet constituents and canvassing and calling people, I really like it. So I think it ended up being a really good fit, and I want to run to just be part of that progressive generation that brings change.
I am running to put my skills and experience combined with my lifelong dedication to social justice and fairness and equality for everyone to work for the people of this district and for the people of the Commonwealth at large. I am in the middle of a 3-year term on town meeting here in Needham. So I am a member of a legislative body, and I am finding a lot of joy and a lot of success with that process. I'm proud to say that I've advocated for things like full-day kindergarten and brought those things to the foreground. And very excited that that's going to happen next year. I've also spent over 3 years working for our state government in the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. I was the first ever electronic discovery attorney in the history of that secretariat, and I believe the executive branch ever. And I have been dedicated to social justice my whole life.
Why do you think you're a good candidate?
The last time I ran, I did pretty well. In 5 months, I got 40% of the vote. So with a last name like Aleksov, and nobody knowing who I was, I feel like we did a pretty good job. And we've been building on that ever since. We never stopped campaigning. And in reality, we only have to make up 10 points, and that's not impossible. And in fact, we already feel comfortable that we're going to do that this time around.
I think that I'm a good candidate because my skill set as a teacher is what's needed at the State House now. We have a lot of legislation that gets to the State House and then stops. It gets hung up, and people aren't talking and communicating. And people will talk to their constituents, but less to each other. And I think when we think about the experiences that we want from our representatives, we want them to be listeners. We want them to be accountable. We want them to be transparent. We want them to be able to research. We want them to be able to articulate complicated things. And that's what I do every single day at the high school. So in my classrooms, both in my 9th and 11th grade classrooms, I'm doing that work. And it's a lot harder to do it with 14 and 16-year-olds than it is to do it with adults. And so I think that my skill set is really unique, something that only teachers would have, because teaching is explaining, teaching is listening, teaching is getting to know different personalities and finding ways to connect with every single person that you meet. And so I think that skill set is really important and transferable to being in the State House.
I am a good candidate in particular because of my experience and my qualifications. I'm very proud to say that I have earned every single endorsement awarded in this race to date, including most recently Mass Equality, a particularly visible organization this year because of the ballot question number 3. And because I have been building communities and coalitions my whole life. Ever since I was a kid. I started teaching when I was 12 and building communities around those experiences, before I hit high school. And as I've traveled throughout this district, up and down, all over, not so much east to west, it doesn't really go east to west, but north to south, I am finding that people are really looking for that kind of person to engage, a meaningful leader with the qualifications to get it done once we get to Beacon Hill, but also someone who builds community. We need to come together right now, and the people in this district, I'm finding, are hungry for that. And it's very exciting as a candidate to have such a positive response to me as a candidate and to the vision that we all share for this district and the Commonwealth going forward.